Just look at this. A man is running. He's not a thief. He's not a criminal. He's an African running from other Africans. A woman is hiding her things in a sack, ready to run if she has to. A father is telling his children, do not speak our language outside today. This is South African now in our own time. But before we talk about now, we must go back. Because South Africa did not always stand alone. There was a time South Africa cried and Africa answered. Many years ago, South Africa was in chains. This was called apartheid. Apartheid means separation. Black people could not vote. Black people could not own a land in their own country. Black people needed a pass, a small paper, just to walk in their own streets. If you did not carry that paper, you could be arrested. Black people rode in separate buses. Black people sat on separate benches. Black people went to separate schools built to keep them small and not let them rise. Families were pulled from their homes and dropped in faraway places just because of the color of their skin. This was not 100 years ago. This was a life of people who are still alive today. This was the life of someone's mother, someone's father, someone's grandmother. In 1976, the children said no more. In Soweto, school children marched in the streets. They were marching against a rule that forced them to learn a language that was not their own. They carried no guns. They carried books and courage. The police came with guns. They opened fire on these children. A boy named Hector Peterson was among the first to fall that day. He was only 12 years old. Many others fell beside him. Some of these children never went home again. Their blood did not fall in silence. It woke up a continent. News of Soweto traveled across Africa, across oceans, across the world. Students in faraway countries held protests for a nation they never visited. Songs were written about a freedom they had never tasted themselves. Children in Lagos, in Accra, in Dar es Salaam learned the word apartheid before they even understood what borders meant. And Africa said, this cannot continue. When apartheid made it impossible for South Africans to fight from home, many of them had to run. And when they ran, they found that Africa had already opened her doors. In 1963, African countries came together and formed the Organization of African Unity. Inside that organization, they built something called the Liberation Committee. Its only job was to help countries still fighting for freedom, including South Africa. Zambia became a home for the African National Congress. For many years, the ANC ran its operation from Lusaka because it could not run them from home. President Kenneth Kaunda gave them shelter, even though it put his own country at risk. Tanzania gave land and gave more than land. It gave a school, a real school, built far away from home, called Solomon Mahangu Freedom College, so that South African children in exile could still learn, even while their parents still fought for freedom. President Julius Nyerere believed that South Africans' children deserved a future even in exile. In Nigeria, something beautiful happened. It was not only the government that helped. Ordinary people stood up. The Nigerian government asked working Nigerians to give a small part of their pay every month to support the fight against apartheid. Workers gave from their salary, market women gave from their daily sales, students gave from the little they carried in their pockets. A mother who could barely feed her own children still found something to give because she believed Black South Africans deserved to be free. She never met them. She may never have even known their names, but she gave anyways. That is not politics, that is love. Ghana carried South Africans' pain to the world stage. Long before many other nations dared to speak, Ghana's first president, Kwame Nkrumah, opened his country to African voices fighting colonial rule and apartheid, and even gave them a stage to be heard. Algeria opened its doors too and fought for a long time. It understood. It helped train South African freedom fighters who had nowhere else to learn how to fight for their own land. Mozambique and Angola paid a heavy price for standing with South Africa. After they won their own freedom, they let South African fighters use their land as a base. In return, the apartheid government sent soldiers to the border to attack and punish them. Still, they did not close their doors. Zimbabwe, after its own independence, became another safe place for South Africans who had nowhere else to run to. Botswana, a small country with little wealth, still gave shelter to those who knocked on her door. Libya, the two sent support to fighters living in exile, in money, training and weapons, and across the continent, country after country pushed for the world to turn its back on the apartheid governments. Through the United Nations, through sports, through trade, one by one, nations cut their ties. One by one, doors closed on apartheid. South Africa stayed open for our people. Country after country, poor countries, struggling countries, countries with their own problems, their own hunger, their own pain, but they still said yes to South Africans' pain. They did this because they believed in one thing. The pain of one South Africa is the pain of all Africans. By the late 1980s, the world could no longer look away. Sanctions came, pressure came. Africa's voice, carried for decades, finally broke through. In 1990, the doors of the prison opened. Nelson Mandela walked out. After 27 years of being locked away, in 1994, Black South Africans voted for the first time in their lives. Long lines stretched for marks. Old men and women, some who had waited for their whole lives, stood for hours just to mark a paper. The world burst. Africa celebrated as if the victory was her own, because this freedom did not only belong to South Africa alone. It belonged to every African who gave money, who gave land, who gave shelter, and gave hope to make this day possible. When Nelson Mandela finally became president, he did not forget. He thanked the nations that gave his people shelter when their own country turned against them. He visited the countries that carried South Africa through her darkest years to say thank you, to say we remember. This is a South Africa that Africa fought for, a South Africa that remembers. Now look again at today. In 2008, mobs moved through township in South Africa, hunting people simply because they were born outside its borders. More than 60 people were killed that year alone. In 2019, it happened again. Shops were burned, families fled, and even now, in our own time, foreign-owned shops are attacked. Foreign workers are chased from job sites. Foreign hairdressers, mechanics, and shopkeepers leave each day not knowing if today is the day the mob comes for them. A Nigerian trader is attacked. A Zimbabwean mechanic is beaten. A Ghanaian hairdresser is insulted. A Somali shopkeeper is chased from his store. A Malawian gardener is asked to go home, and even though he has lived in South Africa for 20 years. Some of them have legal papers. Some have work permits. Some are married to South Africans. Some have children born on South African soil. Some are even African citizens simply because they look or sound foreign. Many young South Africans today have never known a job. They watch politicians promise and forget. They watch their own futures slip further away each year. And in that pain, it becomes easy to look for someone to blame. It becomes easy to point at a man with a different accent, a woman with a different surname, and say, "You are the reason." But anger pointed at the wrong target never builds anything. It only burns down small shops owned by people just as poor as you. But because they are Black Africans born in another country, they are told, "Go." So we must ask this hard question. Did that Nigerian trader create apartheid? Did that Zimbabwean mechanic write the laws that kept Black people poor? Did that Ghanaian hairdresser cause unemployment? Did that Somali shopkeeper write the policies that left millions without jobs? No. He is not your enemy. She is not your enemy. They are also looking for food. They are also fighting poverty. They are also carrying pain, just like you. Your enemy is bad leadership. Your enemy is corruption. Your enemy is unemployment. Your enemy is a system that keeps many poor people while a few enjoy everything. Do not fight the wrong person. Do not burn the hand that once fed you. Would Nelson Mandela be proud of this? Would Oliver Tambo be proud? The man who led the ANC in exile for 30 years, knocking on doors across Africa, asking for help for his people. Would Steve Biko be proud, who died in prison cell fighting for black dignity? Would Winnie Mandela be proud, who carried the struggle through years of her husband's imprisonment? Would Albertina Sisulu be proud, who organized women across the country while her own husband sat in a cell on Robben Island? Would Chris Hani be proud, who gave his life for this freedom? Apartheid wanted black people divided. It wanted black people fighting each other instead of fighting the real problem. So every time one Africa hurts another African, somewhere apartheid smiles from the grave. South Africa gave the world a word, Ubuntu. Ubuntu means I am because we are. But what does Ubuntu mean if an African no longer feels safe on African soil? What does the song God Bless Africa mean if Africans are running away from African hands? We're not saying South Africa has no pain. The youth are suffering. Many families are hungry. Many people have no jobs. That pain is real, and no one should pretend it is not. But pain must not turn into hate for your own brothers and sisters. Slavery wounded us. Colonialism wounded us. Apartheid wounded us. Bad leadership has wounded us. Poverty has wounded us. Must we now wound ourselves? One day, your own children may travel to Nigeria, to Ghana, Kenya, Zambia, or even Zimbabwe. One day, they may need to work there. One day, they may need safety there. One day, they may need kindness there. How do you want them to be treated? As brothers or as strangers? Before brothers, we were people. Before passports, we were family. Before flags, we were Africans. These brothers were not drawn by our grandparents. They were drawn by people far away who carved up this land to suit themselves and left us to fight over the pieces. To the leaders of South Africa, this is the time to act. Not with empty speeches, not with silence, not with fear of losing votes. Protect every legal African living in your country. Protect every innocent person, no matter where they were born. Deal with crime, yes. Deal with illegal activities, but do not punish a whole people because of where they come from. Do not allow a mob in the street to decide who belongs and who does not. Law must lead. Justice must lead. Humanity must lead. And to the young South Africans standing in that street, angry and tired, we speak to your heart. Your pain is real. Your struggle is real. But the African beside you is not the reason your dreams are delayed. He's not the reason there is no job waiting for you. He's not the reason there are not enough houses. He's not the reason life is hard. He's only trying to survive just like you. Look at him again. He may not speak your language. He may not come from your country, but he carries the same black pain. He carries the same African hope. He carries the same dream of a better tomorrow. Do not destroy him. Stand with him, because Africa will never rise if Africans keep pulling each other down. South Africa, remember who stood with you. Remember who cried with you. Remember who gave to you. Remember who opened their doors when the world looked away. Do not repay love with hate. Do not repay sacrifice with rejection. This is not a call to forget your pain. This is a call to remember whose hands carried you when you had no strength left to carry yourself. This is a time to remember. This is a time to heal. This is a time to return to the spirit of Africa. One Africa, one people, one destiny. May South Africa remember her soul. May Africa remember her unity. May every African find safety on African soil. God bless South Africa. God bless every African nation. God bless Africa. If these words touch you, pass them on. Someone else needs to hear this too. Share this message. Subscribe for more stories that tell Africa's truth by Africans for Africa. This is bigger than one video. This is a movement. Be part of it.